Hey, my name is Jason Broadwater, and it's an honor to put this presentation together for the Partners in Ag Innovation Conference 2020. I really appreciate being included and invited. I want to thank the hosts, the sponsors, and the organizers of this wonderful event. And I want to congratulate you guys in Wilmer and Candiyohi County for having such a strong community and investing in your own success. So kudos to you guys. So my presentation is going to cover a broad stroke here, right? I'm going to begin by discussing global changes that are affecting our local communities and economies. And then I'll discuss how communities can leverage local industry in light of these economic and social changes. And then we'll get into some data that's specific to Candiyohi County, and we'll look at an example of a collaborative community initiative so that we can see something see what that could look like. All in all, I hope you gain a perspective on some global shifts that are affecting all of us, and I hope you come away with some ideas for your own community that will help you in your success as the economy and world around us continue to change. So I'm going to start with the internet. The internet is truly amazing. It has changed the way we work, live, play, communicate, organize, store information, shop, and transact. And I'm sure I'm leaving something out. The change is fully comprehensive in our lives, and only our most creative science fiction could have dreamed up what we now do casually and daily with technology. Of course, we still deal with inequities in access to these technologies. I understand you guys are doing some great work in building your broadband infrastructure there in Candiyohi County. So congratulations to you all for those initiatives. I'm sure that's taken some willing collaboration and thoughtful work. Innovation and technology are changing everything we do. No industry, no institution, and no social structure is unaffected. Of course, innovation and technology are not new forces in the world, but there are times in the human story when we leap up to a new plateau, and the introduction of the internet is definitely one of those times. The internet is a platform, and the innovation and other technologies that have followed the internet are currently reinventing our economic and social systems globally, nationally, regionally, and locally. And that's just it. The internet is useful at any size or scale. It is the great leveler. What the internet does so beautifully well and better all the time is simply to connect relevant points. You type in a question, it delivers an answer. You type in anything, and it connects you to that immediately. Therefore, a single person in a small town, in a small neighborhood in the Midwest, can create and publish a single piece of content, and another person who is connected somehow can experience it instantly. Traditional factors like physical distance between the people, for example, and traditional infrastructures do not apply. So by traditional infrastructures, I mean the channels by which people get information, right? So before the internet, how on earth would that random Midwesterner ever have gotten that piece of information or comment to that other person wherever they are? They would have needed to be interviewed by the news media and played on TV to millions in hopes that that other person would eventually somehow hear it. The internet subverts all of that by simply connecting two relevant points. Anybody can post, anybody can react. It's all equal in theory. Each point, each business, each person, each organization is a single point and can participate with any other point. It's more democratic than anything the world has ever seen before. I mean, just look at the impact of internet-linked camera cell phones on the proliferation of the Black Lives Matter movement happening currently in our nation. Individuals and groups of individuals on the streets can post videos to a self-organizing internet that allows millions to see the videos within minutes. These videos have incited riots, and they have inspired organized peaceful protests. They have exacerbated social divisions, and they have pulled together millions of Americans of all colors, races, and creeds across the nation in cities large and small. The individual's ability to capture footage and then post it, plus the cumulative impact of so many people doing so, has shown to America a reality that is not on television or in magazines. The story of anyone can now be taken up by millions, regardless of the traditional media infrastructure. Now my point here is that information distribution systems of the 20th century are being subverted and reinvented by point-to-point connectivity provided by the internet. And it's not just the information distribution systems. Our trade systems are being reinvented. Point-to-point is rewriting the rules of the supply chain in every industry, allowing individuals and small businesses to participate as equal points where they would have been locked out before due to factors like size, scale, distance, etc. So, for example, 20th century infrastructure would have had us regular folks go into the store to buy a product, right? The bigger that store, the more ability they have to sell inventory at a reasonable price. They have to be big organizations, and they have to be plugged into the global supply chain, which means layers of employees, real estate, truck bays, shelves, cash registers, and more. A seemingly endless list of costs that would support the ability for me to walk into a store and see a range of products that I can buy. The costs of such infrastructure are so great that they only work on a giant scale. If I'm in a store looking at a t-shirt for $20, think about the global network of materials, production, shipping, handling, stocking, retailing, legal, administrative, etc. that went into getting me that shirt. And the retailer probably paid $10 for it. Just to make one shirt would be completely undoable. The cost of the shirt would be astronomical. The only shirt on a ship, so to speak. But that's the economic trade infrastructure of the 20th century. Nowadays, when I want a t-shirt, I design it myself on my computer, and I upload the art to a t-shirt website, then I order just one of them for $20. Then it comes to my house in the mail. I go directly to the manufacturer with my own design, and I get one product. Just consider how much of the global supply chain, predominantly in services, that I eliminated from the process. Now, I still need the shirt to get to me, of course, which takes the 20th century infrastructure of planes and trucks and roads and such. But I cut out many of the organizations that would be traditionally involved. So the economic lesson here is this. Because of the level of point-to-point connectivity in our new economy, each person or business can participate in the global supply chain regardless of size or location.
Face that way again for me, please.
Yeah.
If you'll look towards the...
Allow me to use my business as an example. I have a small marketing agency, currently 6 full-timers plus a small recurring cast of freelancers and vendors. We are a services business and we do all kinds of creative marketing projects. Traditionally, such a service business is not bringing new money into the community. It is instead part of the transactional economy that is shuffling the same money around the same community. But my little company has clients all over the U.S. We don't have many clients as we are a small agency, and we're nowhere near the revenue of a manufacturer. We're more akin to a local small business in that regard. But it is a regular part of our operations to bring money from other parts of the nation into our business and then into our local community. We spend it next door at Rock Hill Brewing and Millstone Pizza. We buy homes, we pay local taxes and fees. We enjoy our community as a community of choice because if we didn't like it here, then we wouldn't be here. One project we do is about selling guitars. It's called The Local Pickup. The guitars we sell are being designed in Canada. They're being manufactured in Korea. They're being stored in showroom warehouses in Chicago and Liverpool. They're being sent to us in South Carolina for us to create marketing media like videos and photography. They're being listed by us online for sale. And they're being purchased by the customer somewhere in the U.S. and then shipped to that buyer directly from one of the aforementioned warehouses. So, we are working point to point with the guitar manufacturer in Canada on the one hand, and we're working with the online selling platform on the other. We're the bridge between the two. Thus, my tiny company participates in a global supply and demand ecosystem right from my 2,100 square foot office in Old Town Rock Hill. And we bring in enough revenue for a small group of people to spend locally and live happily in our beloved little town. As small as we are, we can plug into a global supply chain by subverting the traditional infrastructure of that industry in a way that provides benefits to the buyers or the sellers or both. Look at the 20th century food production chain. The different roles represented in this image are meant to be linear in a giant process of a grand scale. But the first thing I think about when I see this image is how likely is it that the family sitting at that table having dinner at home has had direct contact with the farm at the top of the diagram. At my house, it's pretty likely. My wife likes to list the points of origin of the items on the plate with a great sense of pride. She'll say, those tomatoes are from Black's Peaches, the chow chow came from Bush and Vine, and the corn was grown in Uncle K-Dog's garden by Little Marshall. Oh, and the beans came from the grocery store. My wife can do this because she has point-to-point contact with these farms. She stops by there on her way home because she enjoys the experience. She also has direct contact with them on the internet. She orders prepared fresh food from their website as easily as she orders a small item from Amazon, an item that was manufactured on the other side of the world. She does this in just a few minutes while at work. Then the next day, she swings by the farm to pick up our prepared dinner, and when she gets home, the Amazon package is on the porch. So she used the internet seamlessly for her needs both locally and globally. She subverted the global food production and supply chains with ease. She navigated the world to find the best pricing on manufactured goods, and she arranged delivery of both products to be in her hand within 24 hours. And she didn't even break a sweat, right? It was just a few minutes, a few enjoyable minutes even, of her day. I mean, wow, the world has really changed. Local farms opening themselves up to local consumers through direct retail is not just an innovation driven by point-to-point connectivity. This is also a phenomenon that I call community-industry integration. In our old models, industries are not integrated into their own communities. They're just not. For example, Candiotty County is known for being strong in ag industry. But does that mean that there are farms in Candiotty County? Well, maybe, but not necessarily. Does it mean that you have the best restaurants in the world? Well, probably not. I mean, I don't know. Does it mean that you have no food deserts in your community due to the ample amounts of food that you produce in the area? Well, no. Actually, much of Wilmer is a food desert for people living in poverty. The point here is that the ag industry has been disconnected from the community. It is a silo that is participating in the infrastructure of the 20th century supply chain and not as an integral part of your community. In the 20th century trade model, farms, food processing, and restaurants are miles apart, not only physically, but in the supply chain. Things go in order, and access is only for those who can participate at scale. The industries don't interact except through the organizational infrastructure that is the global supply chain. But all that is changing. Point-to-point connectivity is breaking open the traditional structures that govern the flow of product and money in the supply chain, which means growers, processors, restaurants, retailers, and consumers are all touching points in rapidly evolving ways. At the same time, local businesses, large and small, are integrating into their communities. Here's where people work in Candiotty County, according to Data USA. You see healthcare, it's a big one, education, manufacturing, retail, you got agriculture over there, accommodation and food services, construction. You can see here in this data. This categorization of industries smacks of 20th century trade economics. Under this categorization, food is being split up into multiple industries. This is because the industries are organized according to the 20th century supply chain infrastructure. If you were to instead combine all the jobs that have to do with food, you will have a food industry as big as healthcare. Just look at the actual jobs available. These came from a Wilmer Jobs website. The vast majority of these jobs are either focused on healthcare, including medical and assisted living, or food, farming, processing, restaurants, delivery, stores, distribution, whatever, anything food. Those are the needs of the community as well as the jobs in the community. Population growth increases those needs locally, yet in the 20th century model, to have medical technology businesses and food processing businesses as strong industries in your community has no positive impact for medical or food needs locally. They are completely disconnected. At best, these industries provide jobs to people in the community who can then spend their money on health and food, which is good. If they're good paying jobs, then that works well enough. But unfortunately, adults who work full-time for minimum wage live in poverty. And this perpetuates the problem, as poverty is the greatest driver of poor health, both physical and mental. So here's the hard truth for us in economic development. If an industry is functioning locally and is employing a large amount of people from the community at a minimum wage with minimum benefits, then that industry and those businesses are not necessarily a net positive gain for the community. I know that's hard to hear. There's always tax base, but future businesses, both homegrown and recruited, need to see their role as being integral with the community and to believe that it is part of their own success. A healthy, positive, engaged community equals a quality workforce and a quality way of life for everybody, whether you own a business or work for one. We try to get businesses to our communities, right? But why? Let's stop and remember why we were doing all of this. What benefit is a business to the community? And what type of community are we creating? Economically speaking, businesses equal revenue, right? And they equal revenue in two primary ways. Businesses pay taxes and fees, that's number one. And businesses employ people, that's number two. The people go on to pay taxes and fees. So, even at the strict economic level, the value proposition on getting a business to come to your community is eliminated if, number one, they don't pay taxes, and number two, they employ people at an upside-down community cost ratio. Let's not forget that the government exists to serve the people of the community. Each person in the community is a customer of the government. All of the customers are equal, and the government serves businesses only in that by doing so, it is serving the people of that community. The business owners are people, the employees are people, and those who benefit from the increased wealth in the community are people. We're doing all of this for the people. That's the point. So what do people want? Well, people want these things: safety, food, health, housing, employment, and amenities. Right? Safety, food, health, housing, employment, and amenities. Employment might mean having a job, or it might mean having a business, whatever. That's what everybody wants, whether they own a business or work for one. A person chooses your community based on these factors. And them choosing your community may mean relocating a large business here, or moving their home here, or coming back here after college, or just deciding year after year to stay here in the community. People want to be somewhere that they want to be. It's really that simple. So here's the deal. Communities are chasing businesses. Businesses are now chasing people, workforce. And the people are just looking for a community. As I said before, if we didn't like our town, we wouldn't be here. So focus on being a community of choice. Here's a strategy to do that. Improve your amenities, enhance your infrastructure, and develop your workforce. These are the areas of focus. The problem is, though, that we still suffer from 20th century thinking, and we tend to approach these concepts in silos. If you actually sit down and approach the problems of workforce, you inevitably, and usually very quickly, come to one thing, and that's poverty. But we don't want to talk about poverty. That's a different subject with different organizations involved. So we talk about training and internships, which are good, but they are only floating sticks in a pond called poverty. Here's the thing. People living in poverty will not give you a strong workforce. Also, poverty makes a community less desirable to those who choose the community as their home and as a place to put a business. So let's work on poverty. But we don't want to work on poverty. We instead want to work on creating a value proposition for getting a business to relocate here, even if they don't contribute to the tax base and even if they pay a wage that will perpetuate poverty in our community. We do this because we have forgotten who our customer is. It's not that business in a distant place. It is the person in poverty here in our community. That is the customer. That is whom we are charged to serve. The good news is that the new economy understands that these incentives work together. It is exactly by approaching poverty that you will create the workforce that then creates the value for the business you are trying to recruit. And it is exactly the ability to recruit better businesses that is how you bring solutions to poverty in the form of services and quality jobs. So, understanding and capitalizing on the interwoven nature of these things is critical to new economy success. If you look at the rates of poverty in Candiota County, you will see a common phenomenon. Poverty is the highest among women 18 to 50 years old. Well, what are women of our society often doing during those years? That's right, they're raising children. Unfortunately, a woman of this age with children can be employed full-time and still be in poverty. Yet there are jobs out there that pay better, but you have to know about these jobs, you have to have training for these jobs, you have to apply to these jobs, you have to meet certain requirements for these jobs, and all of that is doable, of course, except for one major concern most of these women have, and that's childcare. So what is the number one thing that could help these women commit to stable, long-term jobs with good training, good pay, and good benefits? The answer is quality childcare. But we don't like that answer as economic developers because we don't want to talk about childcare. It's not in our silo, it's not in our wheelhouse, right? We're focused on businesses. But the businesses need people and the people need childcare. So it makes sense. Now, it doesn't make sense in the traditional organization infrastructure in a community where you have social organizations and then you have economic organizations and the two only get together every quarter to share what they are working on. But it does make sense in the new economy where collaborative community initiatives are taking place and they're the only initiatives that produce meaningful outcomes. So what if these women were identified and offer a path that provided high-quality child care, job placement, job training, and mentoring? Could the existing open jobs that we saw earlier, could the existing open jobs in and around Wilmer be filled effectively with these people? What if you went to the businesses that had these open jobs and told them that you will find them employees and will provide that person with one-on-one training for the specific job on-site and off? The employer hires the person and pays a livable wage with health benefits. The college provides a professional to train the person one-to-one for that specific job. A selected nonprofit provides professional child care and child development services. The person is now trained, employed, and receiving health benefits and can now pay for those child care services themselves, which helps support the next child. In this case, everybody wins. All the organizations are fulfilling their missions, and the people are the ones benefiting, these working women and the business owners alike. This is just an example of a community collaboration initiative, but it's important to embrace this new reality. Moving forward, communities that create programs that look like this are the communities that will be successful. It's about finding points to connect, the way the internet does. If these women are employed in food-related jobs, for example, then your food-related industry will be bolstered and your ability to recruit food-related businesses will be enhanced. This is everything from restaurants to food processing, because they are not miles apart, but instead are right down the road, and they're serving each other's needs in a blooming community. So, the successful community in the new economy will have a large variety of small businesses functioning globally and locally due to point-to-point connectivity, a robust integration between industry and community, and an ongoing list of innovative collaborative community initiatives that serve the people of the community. In short, to succeed in the new economy, we need to develop our communities as smartly, as authentically, and as collaboratively as we can. To do so is to be successful in this new economy, a successful community in the 21st century. Thank you.